Good evening, folks. One, two, 1, 2. Is everything coming through okay? Ooh. Just takes a little bit while for the camera to focus. Just a second. Is everything coming through on your guys' end? Is the music at the right level? Can you hear me okay? Trying out a new kind of camera setup at the moment, so it's a tad buggy. No, that's not quite right either. No music, no music, no music. Brilliant, that's great news. Let me try something else. It's very, very annoying. This always happens. So let's try that. Get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay, how's about now, guys? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear the music okay? Music, but only had it for 5 seconds. Right, okay. Okay, how's about that? Is that any better? Focus still isn't great. So it's okay here, but when I get to here, the focus is still a little bit off. Right, well, I think that's probably about as good as we're going to get. Yeah, I've had to use a new camera kind of position, just because what we're actually going to be sculpting, well, not sculpting, sorry, what we're going to be painting tonight is a bit too big to fit under the normal circumstances. So we can see that today we are painting the giantess. Ooh. So I've been working on her today in time for the Kickstarter. Dad's done a lovely job casting her up as always, and I'm just giving her a little touch of paint. So yeah, over the course of the stream, not too sure how long it's going to be, will probably depend on how many people we've got watching and stuff, and if we get to quite a nice conversation going on. But yes, if you do have any questions for this, the last stream that we will be doing before the start of the Kickstarter next week. If you would like a little bit of a sneak peek of the models coming up, or whether you would like to ask about game mechanics, what I've got planned for the actual gaming side, then please do let me know. Not a problem, Andy. Hope it's just good to see you. And for your question, Dagfin, her legs are pretty solid. So we've got quite nice, an integral base on the foot here. So it's all kind of built in. And in terms of the actual ankle, it's a pretty solid lump of resin. So there's no a real chance of her snapping, I don't think. Although those are always famous last words. So what's everybody working on tonight? Do you have your own projects lined up, or are we just chilling? I'm still not quite happy on the problem is about this angle is that if I'm ever trying to actually paint something, all you guys can see is my hand. So, I mean, unless you guys didn't actually mind that. Les is painting ancients tonight. Thank you very much. Glad you like the giant. Thought I wanted to do something a tad bit different for the second edition giant. Because first edition giant is very much kind of giant-like in terms of he looks quite similar to all the other kind of fantasy giants out there, so I thought having a go at a female giant, and particularly one that wasn't a kind of a haggard old crone, you know, would be quite fun. Mr. Morris has started his Battle Patrol Bridge and Imperial Minis this week. Was hoping to start a while back, move house thanks to crazy neighbours. Ooh, now that sounds like a tale. Dagfin is saying that he's not doing any hobby stuff tonight. He left his stuff at home and he's gone on holiday. Hope you enjoy yourself on holiday, Dagfin. Mr. Morris, is it and? I was thinking very same, looking forward to the 21st, thinking red coats for the halberdiers and then paint the crossbowmen up as rangers. That's a very cool idea. Like actually one of the things I was... One of the ideas I had for like a stretch goal for the Imperial Kickstarter is to do a poster with kind of a couple of the Imperial regiments. So to show, lots of different kind of uniform colours and stuff like that, I thought would be quite interesting for you guys, give you a bit of inspiration on how to paint your own Imperials. Your granddaughter, Dad, is currently, I think she's having a tea at the moment. But knowing her, I'm sure she'll appear at some point. So to give you guys an idea of how big the Giantess is, so she is on a 120mm base. And here is one of the Imperials for scale. Yeah. Goblin. Come here, baby. See if we can actually... Oh, guys, look who it is. It's Goblin. Anne says, haven't really decided yet, but looking forward to painting the Foot Knight. Love that mini. The poster idea is a cracking idea. Thank you very much. Don't stand on paint. Dagfin is saying, you don't by any chance have the old giant there. Fortunately I don't. The first edition models have been locked up somewhere. And I'm at my flat in Nottingham, so I don't have access to them. But I believe the Giantess is actually bigger than the first. No. Goblin is about 7 months old, so she's still a little kitten, and she loves knocking my paints over, and unfortunately she managed to get to one a little bit quicker than I could today, so our carpet is now a very particular shade of blue. Goblin, look, Grandad's there. So, Dad met Goblin for the first time last weekend, and he was absolutely enamoured with her. I'm not sure if Mum was as enamoured. I can't say don't think she liked her that much, but there's still time, isn't there, Goblin? Still time to convince Grandma. So while we are here, I guess this is a good chance to show off some more of the Imperial models. So here is the trooper with a spear. Here is the trooper with a sword and shield. Come on. Here's another trooper with an ArcWorlde rifle. Come on. Yeah, apologise. The camera doesn't seem to be. There we go. Here is the star of the show, the ammo monkey. I think for this bit I'm gonna have to kind of force the camera a tad. There we go, that's better. Yeah. And then here is the captain. He's got an ArcWorlde pistol as well. So it's these 6 guys that you get in the starter warband. So this is like the set, like the core set that each of the factions in ArcWorlde get. And then here is the Tinkerer. And then he has a magical chest where all of his kind of Arcanite powered contraptions are kept. And you can see there the chest has got little legs so it can follow him around the battlefield. So the kind of the story behind these guys in terms of the Tinkerer is that in first edition, so first edition of ArcWorlde was about 10 years before second edition, and the Empire had quite a good working relationship with the College of Mount Orion, which is kind of like the independent city-state where all the wizards are trained. So they would send emissaries to Albionica in return for Albionica's protection, and Albionica would use the wizards in their kind of manufacturing, in their war bands and stuff like that. But the wizards have since kind of cut off all ties to all of the countries to kind of glean their own power and stuff like that. So in return, the Empire's banned the use of magic within its borders, because anyone who uses magic is a wizard, and wizards now can't be trusted. So they're pumping a lot of resources into developing ways to harness magic without using magic. So creating devices using the power of Arcanite to fuel them in a way to kind of trap and harness magic as an energy source. And the Tinkerers Guild is in charge of doing that. So they train up people to essentially create these marvelous machines, and they send Tinkerers who are licensed from the Tinkerers Guild as like kind of magical engineers to accompany the Empire's armies in the field. And they take people from all walks of life. You know, the Albionica Empire stretches over quite a distance, and a lot of people do choose to move there to kind of set up themselves, especially in the city of Albionica. So to represent that, I decided to make my Tinkerer, at least the official one, a halfling. So you can see here, kind of stood next to a normal Empire soldier. He is quite a bit smaller because he is a halfling, and I just kind of I think I took a lot of inspiration from kind of the stereotype of gnomes in D&D as well. You know, kind of they're quite adept with technology and mechanics and stuff like that. So there is actually more than one halfling country in Upper ArcWorlde. So the guys that you have already are from mainly from Hobbleshire, but have kind of migrated and moved to the Mildark. Now they're kind of your country bumpkin farmer types who distrust everyone and kind of stick to the old ways. Whereas to the north of Hobbleshire is a country called Riverreich, and they are also mainly halfling, but they are a part of the they have relations to the Empire still, and the very kind of have a big international ports and stuff like that, and a lot of their trade is kind of clockwork stuff and mechanics. So quite a few of the halflings that are a part of the Empire's forces, including the Tinkerers, are from Riverreich. Now, there isn't actually any written lore about this, so this is all fresh. Eventually, once things have calmed down, but then I might even anyway. once things calm down, I would love to kind of work on a kind of a lore book for ArcWorlde. You know, an illustrated book with kind of stories about the kind of the places and the world, kind of use as inspiration when coming up with your own warbands, particularly for the RPG, ArcWorlde RPG, which is currently in the works as well. But I guess it's just when do I write it? I mean, I've been speaking about this on the stream quite a few times, about how it would be awesome to actually make a full colour illustrated kind of lore book. And one day. So yeah, so these are the models that I'm painting up for the Kickstarter so far. Now there are quite a few others that I've got, but they are they're mainly being cast now. But the plan is that I'm going to be not only, you know, making models for the Imperials, so the next faction, but I'll also be introducing new figures for your existing factions, so the Halflings, the Elves, the Beast Folk, and the Undead Raiders. Just so you guys who, you know, you only play with them, you still have something to look forward to next week. Mr. Morris is saying, they are grand. I'm thinking light Scott Stain infantry with a tartan strip around the bottom of the shako. Very, very cool. And that's actually a really cool idea, so I might include that in the regiments section. I hadn't really considered painting up these guys as Scott Stain, but that's definitely a really, really good idea. Nick is saying, they remind me of the Leica Studios characters. I love the look of the Imperials. Now, I love Leica Studios. They're incredible films and incredible art style, so that is a really nice compliment. Thank you so much. Hey Kevin, good to see you. Painting is very nice on the both, thank you. We all love a good character story, says Ans. Nick is saying, I would love to write lore for the world. I'm huge on making my own campaigns in D&D and Pathfinder. Brilliant. Yeah, I've been really getting into D&D recently. One of my friends that I knew from uni has started a campaign a few months ago, just before the lockdown. So I've been really enjoying, you know, gaming for fun rather than for work. Ans is saying, awesome. My friends have a D and Adam group. I'm sure it'd been D&D, and we have been looking for something different. A lore book would have pride of place on my shelf. Brilliant. You're making your own D&D campaigns, Nick. That's awesome. And thanks, Alex. Thank you very much, I assume, for the asking to use your idea for the Imperial poster. Lord Maiden, I'm tempted by the Imperials as well. Damn it. Good. Nick, I've been playing D&D for 18 years now. Wow. Well, I've really been enjoying it. The D&D, the ArcWorlde RPG that's been worked on at the moment. My good friend Adam is doing most of the kind of the work. I mean, we are using the core ArcWorlde rules, you know, for the main game for the combat system. So Adam's kind of working on adding the more RPG elements, kind of, you know, so the way that it's currently working is that you take characters from the base game, so from the battle game, so for these guys, and then you essentially could add on the kind of the RPG specific stats and things like that. So yeah, that's really exciting. And we played a game a few weeks ago, and it worked really well. Like, it really, you know, brought the game, the ArcWorlde game, and, you know, the combat actually worked really well. So the way that we did it kind of worked out was that the players together kind of made a full warband themselves. but obviously everyone controlled their own character, and it has heavy use of feats and stuff like that, and a lot of the stats do affect your abilities to use feats, so it is kind of encouraging you to, rather than just using the normal combat mechanics, is really use your imagination to try and come up with solutions for situations. Hey Mal, how's it going? Yes, I'm very good, thank you. Had to jump on to ask some questions whilst we chill and watch the Q&A. With the previous Kickstarter, there were heavies, like the Thing Flinger, elites, like the Town Guard, and irregulars, like the Monster Hunter. What would fall into these categories for the Imperials? In guessing the Ogre would be the heavy. Cool, well, very good question. And yes, you are correct, the Ogre is the heavy for the Imperials. In terms of the elite, there will be some kind of more armoured hussars. They are going to be cavalry. So I'm working on the elites for the Imperials being mounted, which would be something new for second edition. I know there were quite a few mounted models in first edition, but I'll be kind of bringing those up into second edition. So yeah, they're going to be quite beefy characters. In terms of the irregular, I'm not quite sure yet. Part of me is thinking to kind of revisit the Flame Lance again from first edition, and I'll put my own spin on it. Maybe some more wicked, weird contraption from the Tinkerers Guild, or else I was thinking maybe some auxiliaries. So essentially, like characters from different factions that are essentially trained up to be part of the Imperial Army. But you can do that already in the rules. But so I was thinking of maybe doing the kind of the weird, wacky Tinkerers contraption, and maybe doing a few models. So if you do decide to use characters from other factions as swords for hire, then it kind of still keeps that uniform aesthetic. Kevin, what do you think about a skirmish mode with a small group, not a massive battle game? Well, that actually is what it is already, Kevin. So the ArcWorlde isn't a mass battle game. The normal amount of models on the board is roughly around 10. There's only certain factions that, for a small base game, actually have more models than that. Obviously, the more models you have, it does scale up, so you guys with larger collections can have bigger games, a bit more complex, and there is going to be a kind of not a mass battle game rules in the advanced rules that we're working on, more kind of, maybe if you have like 20 or 30 characters. It just gives you the ability to kind of make small gangs or squads and kind of activate them at once rather than moving model by model. But yeah, so that's what the game is already, my man. So do you folks have any more questions about anything that's coming up? Ooh. Although I haven't actually played Mortal Gods, but I've heard very good things about it. Is that from Footsore Miniatures? Am I thinking of the right guys? Les is saying, why does a Tinkerer's contraption make me think of the Clockwork Soldier from Return to Oz? I haven't actually seen that. I'll have to give it a look. Mal, all good, thank you. First stream for a while due to reworking night. We'll be able to be on for the next one in 2 weeks as well. Well, actually, because we're entering Kickstarter territory, I'm hoping to actually do quite a few more of these over the coming few weeks to promote the Kickstarter, especially whilst the Kickstarter is actually running. I'm going to be doing a kind of a live launch stream for the Kickstarter next Tuesday. So it'd be great to see you all there. We'll probably be doing a game as well soon, another game. I mean, I got quite a lot of good feedback from last week's game with Wing. People seem to really enjoy that, to kind of see the rules in action. So I think I'll be doing something for the Imperials as well. Mal's also saying, that sounds great. The Flame Lance would be an epic return, or a Clockwork Soldier would be pretty different. Ooh, what about a Clockwork Hound? Very cool. I mean, I didn't want to go kind of too hard into the steampunk aspect, but I'm definitely open to ideas, and I think a lot of I'll be kind of doing quite a bit of tinkering with ideas myself over the next few days, whilst I get everything ready for the launch. Mal is asking, what are the add-ons for the original 4 factions? I like the idea of Ram Riders. Well, you are quite in luck, because the add-ons for the... hang on just a second. Sorry about that, folks. Had to see to the cat. She was meowing because I think a toy was run out of battery. So we've got one of those automatic balls that kind of rolls around and stuff, and she got it into a corner and it had died. So I just had to grab her something to play with whilst we're chatting. Her favourite toy of all time, like the thing that she's loved ever since she was a kitten, are packing peanuts. So the same packing peanuts that you guys get when you order from us is what she loves more than anything in the world. And she will play with them for hours and hours and hours. But to go back to your question, Mal, yeah, so Ram Riders are going to be the add-on for the Halflings. So the rules are already there. So rather than having their own kind of specialist stat, what you would do is you would take a militia and then equip a mount as a piece of equipment. For the undead, I was thinking something similar, like more kind of undead riders, headless horsemen kind of thing. I think would be quite cool. For the beast folk, I was thinking of sculpting the big warty toad-like character from the rule book, if you guys have got that. Otherwise, perhaps some kind of smaller monster riders, so some vermin clinging on the back of some kind of creature, because one of the big things about Beast Folk as a faction is that they get bonuses for taking monsters from the bestiary as part of their faction, as part of their warband. So I might kind of sculpt vermin in like hanging on poses, so that you can kind of take existing monsters and kind of stick them on. And for the elves, I was thinking potentially, like, I don't know, because originally I was thinking of converting a war chief, so you can put him on the back of a briar elk. It's because one of the things about briar elks is that they are summoned just like wood fiends and things and lichen hawks. But if you summon one, you can summon it kind of underneath you and ride it as like a monstrous mount. So that would be quite cool. And then you could use it, you know, on your existing Briar Elk. But then another way I was thinking of doing it was like almost like elf centaurs, but with the lower half, the kind of the horse half, being those kind of like briars and bits of wood and stuff like that. So almost like summon the body around the elves and then carry it. That could be quite interesting. Nick's saying, my boy loves those peanuts too. I noticed you use the cornstarch one, so it's doubly good of them to play. Absolutely, and you know, like originally that was just because we wanted to be more environmentally friendly and use biodegradable products, but it does have the bonus of when you get your box of toys, your children and your pets get some too. Mal Centaur perhaps for the elves. Wow, you beat me to it. So yeah, I would take use this for it. So here's the Briar Elk, and so imagine like the head's gone, and then the elf would kind of be coming out of it with like the vines and stuff wrapping around it, kind of like a really spiky pair of four-legged trousers. Dagfin is asking, how about a shapeshifter for the elves? Ah, very good idea, but what would the shape be? Because wouldn't you just use other things? Mal, new mounted sounds great. Might have to get a ram contingent. That's a very good idea. So another thing about the mounts is that the mount will be separate from the rider, so you can mix and match the riders to the mount, so you can get a bit more customization if you do want to field an entire force of mounted characters. Mal is saying, do not make a clockwork troll, my wallet could not cope, though I'd find a way to make it work. Well, that's actually a really cool idea. Will the giantess, being the monster for the Kickstarter, come with a campaign like the Forest Dragon? Now, I've been thinking about this, and because the giantess won't actually count as a monster, so the giantess will be a swords for hire, so she is a monstrous. She is of monstrous size, but because she's not actually she's fully sentient, very intelligent and stuff like that. I'm not sure if she would actually fit in the bestiary, but I'm sure I could come up with a campaign for her. So we're still in the process of working on the campaign for the Spider Queen and the Forest Dragon. Now, a lot of that is very much dependent on how the rules for the campaign system and the advanced rules work. I have been doing some work on them over the past few months, but because of lockdown, we haven't been able to get as much playtesting done because people aren't able to meet up for games. I did do an update a few days ago on the Kickstarter just to kind of let you guys know the state of play with those. They are still due to be released at the end of the year, but which hopefully we'll be able to get quite a bit more playtesting done soon. Dagfin, shape change into a centaur or giant eagle or some sort of beast. Very cool. Mal separate riders is a huge selling point for me. Very interesting. Mal, stop the rampage scenario perhaps. Slow the giant's run whilst evacuating minis from the board. Yeah, that's a good idea. In one of the ideas that I had was almost like a kind of
like a whatchamacallit, like a kind of a mercenary story. So you have a series of games, and each game she's hired by a different faction, and she has to do certain tasks for the faction, almost like, you know, the Labours of Heracles kind of thing, because she's so big. But I don't know, as I said, my ideas are quite kind of open for something like that. Mr. Bassano, hello gang, sorry I came home late. You naughty, naughty man. Well, whatever you were doing, I hope you had a lovely time. But yeah, in terms of the add-ons for the factions, I have sculpted, well, part of one. So the first halfling ram rider is done. He's been sculpted, well, not sculpted, sorry, cast as we speak. But because of getting everything else ready, the other kind of concepts will have to be artwork, which, you know, it's not. I try not to use too much artwork. You know, I do like to have all my models as sculpted as possible. But the good thing is that, you know, the campaign is running for 2 weeks, so it does give me chance to actually sculpt stuff on the fly, as it were. After Goblin, no. Ans is saying, after I get through my pile of Imperial Shame and Bayux, I'm going full halfling. Been loving the painted halflings posted by members on the community page. Hey Robert. Halflings are very, very popular. Robert working, unfortunately nothing exciting. Oh, that's a shame. Mal, looking forward to updated giant rules. It all sounds great, Alex. Eagerly awaiting the 21st now. Any idea what time it will go live? Thank you very much. I'm glad I've managed to sway you. In terms of the actual time of when it is going live, well, that's the thing. Like, part of me was like, do I launch it? Goblin? She's trying to get this open because it is full of peanuts. Goblin. Come on. But yeah, but in terms of going live, I'm in two minds. Part of me is like, I'll be putting it live at maybe 7 and then starting the stream at 8. Part of me is like, do I start the stream at 7 and launch the Kickstarter at 8 so that we can do it live on the stream? But it will be around then. It will be in the evening time. Nick is asking, I do love the halflings, especially that one fully painted army that is on the Facebook page, but my heart goes to the Undead Raiders. If the little Leviathan gets 2nd edition rules, I might have to buy one. Well, actually, I did write some 2nd edition rules for the Leviathan. I haven't kind of put them on the website yet because haven't been tested. But if you drop me a message on Facebook, I'll send them over to you. Ah, yes, you found the peanut now. And is saying, lol, I'm afraid I'm an Imperial through and through, though, Dagfin, but ArcWorlde without halflings would be just wrong. Looking forward to getting my hands on some. Mal is saying, I'll be there with bells on. I'll pledge before I head off to work. Brilliant. Yeah, so there is, you know, as with most of my Kickstarters, there will be some early birds for you guys who are there before anybody else. Now, usually they do go lightning fast, because this is going to be a more kind of smaller scale project. You know, we're not doing like a big release like the 2nd edition where we've got, you know, 4 full factions and stuff. It is going to be a more smaller scale, so there's not going to be as many early birds available, but I'll post information about that, sooner to the time, so that you guys can be there, hovering over the F5 key, so you can grab them. The Undead Raiders are a cracking warband, Nick. Oh, thank you very much, and I'm glad you think so. And grab the Crimson Fellowship would work really well. Yeah, that is actually a very good idea. So if you haven't read the core rules just yet, one of the big things about 2nd edition particularly is that you can, use characters from different factions in your warband, especially if they're within the same kingdom. So kind of group of factions that share similar play styles. Now, because the Imperials and the Halflings are in the Kingdom of Civilization, they can interchange their characters as they will. So that's you could definitely use a Halfling warband and integrate it with an Imperial one. Nick is saying, I shot a PM over to the Warplock page. Guess I'll get my wallet ready to buy that Leviathan. Brilliant. Well, once the stream is done, I'll send it over to you. Robert, Alex, have you decided the hour of the Kickstarter yet? Forgive me if it's already asked. No, don't worry. I was saying that I haven't decided on the exact hour, so it's between it'll be about 7 or 8 PM UK time next Tuesday. So roughly around the same time that the stream will be. Ans is saying, was going to pick them up when I backed the Kickstarter, Mal, as I really like them even more, so now we have the Tinkerer coming. They will definitely have a place in my garrison. Brilliant. Mal is asking, do I recall saying that a currently released ArcWorlde minis would be add-ons to the Kickstarter, Alex? Got a few ideas where to go next. Yes, so all the existing products for 2nd edition will be add-ons in the Pledge Manager, but one of the things that I'm doing for the actual campaign itself is that, as with the first campaign where you could, there were group deals if you got more than one faction, I've kept those on, so you can, obviously the main thing for the campaign is to launch the Imperials, but there are deals that allow you to have 2 if you're a new player and you want to try or another faction, or you can have all 5 factions in a deal and you save a ton of money doing that. Now, those aren't exact factions, they are faction choices. So you get the Imperials and 4 other faction choices, and you can spend those as you wish. So if you do want to maybe get multiples of the Imperials to kind of build up a bigger force, you can do that. Or you could use it to get all of the factions together if you're new to the game. Ans is saying, this will be my first Kickstarter, so doubly excited. Well, thank you very much. Robert is asking, any new minis for the Beast folks? Yes, indeed. So one of the things for this campaign is that there will be new characters for the existing 4 factions. For the Beast folk, I'm toying between doing a kind of a big toad clan beast. So you can kind of add to your warband, or vermin monster riders, so kind of little clip-on vermin, so you can stick them on the backs of monsters that you hire for your faction. So I'm not too sure. I mean, after the Imperials, there will be 2 more one faction Kickstarters. So after the Imperials, there will be the Bayorks, and then after the Bayorks, there will be the Gremlins. And once again, for each of those campaigns, there will be new models for the ones that had already been released. So if something that you guys like the sound of isn't done for this one, there's 2 more chances that they will be released in the future. Mal's saying, I'm a son of Hobbleshire at heart, but the Crimson Fellowship are tempting after seeing Dagfin's painting, and, to my shame, I still need to purchase my first troll? You haven't got a troll yet? That's like the first thing that most people buy. For shame. And I saw Dagfin's Fellowship was a great bit of painting. Hope I do them justice. Yes, Dagfin is a really, really good painter. And he's built so much lore for his faction as well. I'm sure you guys have seen his massive posts on the ArcWorlde group about the Cushington halflings. And most of that lore has translated straight over to second edition, incorporating the changes in the fluff that has occurred. So I'm sure that the heroes of Cushington have a long, long way to go yet, especially with the new add-ons that are coming up in the next few months. Anne says he will be slip-sliding, but smiling all the way, Mal. Can't think of a better way to go. So if you haven't done the Kickstarter before, Anne, how did you discover ArcWorlde? Because this is always something that I find quite interesting when talking to people, to ArcWorlde players, is how did they actually discover the range? So this is an open question to the chat. How did you find out about ArcWorlde? Mal is saying, my first edition Forest Troll has captured his heart, and quite possibly my wallet soon, but the Halfling Rangers are tempting after the purchase of my Spooky Forest. Have you shown off that Spooky Forest in the group? Because, I think I can remember what they look like. I'm not sure. Lord Maiden says he found out about ArcWorlde through a friend when they backed the Troubles in the North Kickstarter. Brilliant. And saying that he really enjoys the community posts. Yeah, I'm very, very well. We're all very, very lucky that ArcWorlde, the ArcWorlde community, is really, really amazing. So really, a really cool, chilled out community, very supportive. I don't think there's ever been any drama in the ArcWorlde community, and everyone really does try and be there for everybody else. We're all very lucky, and I'm very lucky to have you guys around, definitely. Nick says, I was actually going to kickstart another game, but I saw ArcWorlde and fell in love with the mini, so backed it instead. Brilliant. Was this the second edition Kickstarter? Mal saying, only on Insta can share off the Facebook page. That's cool. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Rob Sarno, as per cavalry pieces, what news? Again, if it's been asked again, sorry, no problem. So, kind of the theme of the releases for the other factions for the Imperials Kickstarter is kind of more fast units, fast cavalry. So the Halflings are going to be getting some Ram Riders, the Undead are going to be getting some Headless Horseman style Highwaymen. The Elves are going to get kind of Briar Elk style Centaurs, so kind of the elf top half, and they'll have summoned kind of a horse body so they can move faster. What have I missed? The Beast Folk, yeah. So the Beast Folk, I'm swinging towards kind of more faster looking clan beasts, or just vermin. Kind of mounted vermin on monsters. My dad is saying, Mal just made a brand new mould for that forest troll, the 4th one since release. That's how popular it's been. Well, yeah, it's because it's blooming ancient. Mal says, I met you at Salute event about 8 years ago. Loved the halflings then, but lost your card. Back to Troubles in the North when it popped up, and has been catching up ever since. 8 blooming years. Has it been that long? Les, Warfare or Salute? Can't remember. I think Salute. I'm not sure if I've been to Warfare. Maybe I've done. Can't remember. Mal, geez Rob, that's amazing, and thank your good lady for her packing skills and kind words on my last order. Ian Foster, sup chums, listening in whilst working, hope you're all well. Good to see you, buddy. Why on earth are you working at 9 o'clock? You should be relaxing at this point. Nick, yep, 2nd edition for me. And Morris, I saw your minis on tabletop, Alex, and fell in love with them. So, grabbed me a box of Troll Bridge. You have some big fans over on tabletop. Used to be called Beasts of War. Oh, absolutely. And those guys have been posting my stuff for years, and it's been really, really good. They've always been very supportive of my work. I would love to do kind of a weekender thing, where I go over there and show off the range, but unfortunately it's a bit out of my price point at the moment. But hopefully in a few years' time, I might be able to afford it. Mal, will there be any more add-ons to the bestiary from the Kickstarter besides the Giantess? Yes, there will. So one of the things that it will be is a kind of an interesting thing that I'm going to try for the Imperials is that they will actually be mounted upon unicorns. So rather than horses, they'll have kind of broken-in unicorns that they've enslaved and broken in. So you'll have, them all mounted and barded and stuff like that for the Imperials, but there will be a kind of a free one, which will be kind of able to be taken as a monster for the other factions. But other than that, I'm not too sure. That's one of the great things about doing this, is that I can just come up with something on the fly, or I'll be in the shower, or I'll be in bed, or I'll just be having my tea, and I'll think, oh yeah, that's quite a cool idea. And then in a few days' time, it's a model. So watch this space. It could be anything. Ian Foster, deadline. Too much to do doing all the landscape for a new bus station, a residential and bridge somewhere in the northwest. Shh. Yeah, you shouldn't be working at this point. You should be relaxing. But, I get it. I can't exactly talk. Especially, the amount of hours that I do. Those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones and all that. Dagfin says, for me, it was the Warhammer Forum back in 08 or 09. Absolutely. When I was a wee babby. And I was posting my first ever stuff back when I was 13. I was about 14 or 15. I think I started my thread in 07, perhaps. But yeah, long time ago. For those of you who aren't aware, this year is actually the 10th anniversary of Warplock Miniatures. So I'll be definitely doing like a big event in December. So I launch Warplock Miniatures on the 17th of December. So there's going to be a big Christmas thing this year to celebrate, definitely. Mal, if you get the time, or if there's an interest, a flock of clockwork gribblies would be great for giggles running amok. Grifflings, meows, arcanid, troggles. It's a sale from me. Yeah, good idea. What are you doing over there, Goblin? We need to do something for the 10-yearer. Absolutely. Well, it's a shame it's not actually this year, but the plan was that I was going to make it a big part of the next ArcWorlde Weekender. Originally, it was going to be like a 6-month thing, so we were actually planning on doing something in July, all the way back when, but obviously certain global events put a stop to that. So, I'd like to do something online for like the 10th anniversary weekend, but maybe do something even more special for the 2001 ArcWorlde Weekender. Lord Maiden, a special 10-year Goblin Cat miniature. It's quite a good idea, actually. Jaznaz, hi all. Good to see you, Jazz. Ans Morris, it would be great to have a celebration for the 10-year anniversary. Absolutely. Any excuse for a knees up. Hang on, be right back. Just going to get a drink. Shouldn't be advertising Pepsi unless they're paying me. Mr. Bassano, I discovered it when Battle for Troll Bridge came out, but I start buying only last year before the 2nd edition Kickstarter. Now I buy what I like. Listen no more, older GW boys shenanigans. Lord Maiden, a precursor to the upcoming cat race Alex has talked about, would be great. Ooh, yeah, good idea. And a giant goblin with moving paws to knock over the opposition. Well, I don't need a model to do that. She does that very well on her own. She very much enjoyed all the fun that we had last week for the game. She definitely liked getting involved. King Goblin, Lord of the Felinicians. I think I'm probably saying that wrong. But yeah, though, as Mal was saying, there is an upcoming cat race for ArcWorlde. So once the first batch of 12 factions are done, I have plans for about 10 more additional factions to do. So for those guys who haven't yet jumped into ArcWorlde, don't worry. There's a lot of stuff planned for the future. Ooh. So what colour schemes have you guys thought of for your Imperials so far? And after those 10 races, Encyclopedia ArcWorlde, please. Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm hoping by that point. Well, that's the thing. The thing is that I would love to do the Encyclopedia ArcWorlde right now, but the amount of time it would take, I'd have to essentially stop sculpting for 6 months. So it depends on what you guys would rather have, like another 2 factions or a book. At Mal, yeah, the start of a new race, an explorer that turns out to be the king. Good to hear about the celebrations. Just Sean being sharp. Yeah, kind of like the green rifles jackets. Jacko, sounds like Thundercats is coming to ArcWorlde. Awesome. How long have you been sneaking off there? In Foster, cream and light blue, as seen by the Portuguese soldiers in the mission. Yeah, absolutely. I was actually thinking, after we watched that, I was thinking of making that an official regiment of the Imperials. I wasn't sure what to make. Maybe potentially one of the jungle expedition ones to kind of make it fit with the mission. Mal, black jackets, red undercolour, gold trim. Very nice. So there is actually one of the ones I've come up with already is the black jacket, kind of monster specialist faction, not factions, regiments. So they are specifically trained to work with big beasts and use them in war, and they have black jackets with brown trousers at the moment. I've been doing some Photoshop fiddlings to try and come up with new colour schemes, but that's definitely an option. Though I'm still not 100% sure on the colour scheme just yet. Dagfin, dark green jackets, black trousers, and a hat with a dash of purple. That sounds very familiar. Nick, I like the red coat look for the Imperials. Cool. Lord Maiden, blue and purple for me. Interesting choice. Would you have a particular kind of backstory in mind for those guys? So I'll show you kind of the outcomes of one of my. Hang on. Just turn off the. So I've done a blue. Design for the Imperial Navies. So just to show you what I've got in mind. Oh, it doesn't work like that. Try that again. No, it doesn't work. Hold with me. There we go. So these guys are from Spurn Isle, which is a colony in the middle of one of the Oval Oceans. That is a very kind of naval place, very big fishing community. There's quite a lot of piracy around there as well, but it is part of the empire, and the governess that they've got there is well loved by the locals. So most of that piracy is thankfully turned towards the other nations in ArcWorlde. Say piracy, privateers, because they do have the Empire's badge on their banners, but yeah, they have a more kind of a naval blue and white colour scheme. Mal, I'm trying to get my halflings done so I can make it into the encyclopedia, though being able to colour my own faction character and design my shield like Dagfin has done would be great. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, Dagfin has done his, been working on his lore for years. But, I mean, one of the great things about, chatting to you guys and trying to be a part of the community is that I will, I'd really love to include some of your lore in the encyclopedia. So if you do have any cool ideas for your factions or backstories and stuff like that, I'll be probably doing a post and asking for people to chat to if they want to have their lore put into the book. Lord Maiden, They were left in an outpost far to the west, the worst soldiers known to man. The colours show the other Imperials that they were blundering idiots. The ones wearing it thinks they are the bee's knees. I really like that. Mr. Bassano, good, very Napoleonic. Thank you very much. Mr. Morris, I was going to paint up some Mount Orion Guard in that white scheme and use them as elite. Well, absolutely, especially now because the Mount Orion, which is the wizard city-state I was talking about before, has now seceded from any kind of ties to the Empire. So I can imagine a lot of those guards have been sent home and will be repurposed in the rest of the army. So maybe like an ex-Mount Orion guard kind of hell-bent on revenge upon the wizards would be quite a cool idea for a faction. Yeah, but I was thinking of doing the red coats, obviously, and then the blue for like the navies, and the black for the monster tamers, and I mean there has to be a green for like the rangers, purely as a nod to Sharp. But yeah, and the one that Ian was talking about, the kind of the cream and light blue. But I was thinking of looking at some Napoleonic units as inspiration. Potentially some earlier uniforms as well, and I was also thinking potentially some khakis, so for like desert style troops. But yeah, I've got a little bit of time to think about all that. And is saying, I'm tempted to add a shore party to my garrison, but they would be a great addition to a jungle marine-like force. Might have to start a second Imperial force, that would be cool. And it is one of the things I would really love to do, is to kind of do like ranks and like a full, almost like a mass battle style army for the Imperials. But I think since I gave up doing Warhammer years ago, like I've only ever painted like up to maybe 15 of the similarist characters. I'm not sure I have the heart to do mass battle paints anymore. Mr. Bassano, have you got any new and weird ideas for the vampires yet? Not quite yet, bud. The vampires aren't due to come out for quite a while. I still have the Bayorks and the Gremlins to work on before then. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, for the the vampires and the wizards to be released around March next year. I mean, it's so blooming different to plan anything anymore, but you know, it would be great to be able to kind of to show them off at Salute and do demos and things like that. Robert asks, talk about both colours and shapes. Well, yeah, I mean, have you read the rules? I mean, I guess you wouldn't because I haven't posted them yet. But yeah, so the vampires will have houses. So kind of they'll have essentially like houses where they have different, like the actual vampires themselves will have different specialities, like sorcery or shape-shifting or kind of seduction and all that. So though you'll probably have lots of different options for the commander model, and they'll have different rules and stuff like that. Amal, any thoughts on ArcWorlde themed terrain again, Alex? So many of us want it, you know. Yeah, once again, this is something that it does keep getting brought up, but I'm genuinely not sure if it would be a good idea making it. There is already so much cool terrain out there, and as terrain isn't really particularly my specialism, Like, I'm not too sure whether it would kind of be worth making. What would be quite interesting is if I made like 3D printable terrain and sold that, but just do the STL files. But you know what, I am really trying to keep ArcWorlde as handmade models. But you know, if there is like an overwhelming like demand for it, and it would have to be, you know, probably resin casts. You know, and I think this is something I've touched on in the past, like in terms of material costs. Casting up, you know, a big house uses just as much material as maybe 10 warbands. And could I charge as much for, you know, as 10 warbands for a house? And especially because there are so many companies out there that, you know, specialize in terrain. I'm not sure if I could compete price point wise. Jacko could have a giant leech in the vampires. Ooh, very cool. Leeches are part of the Ancient Dead, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you've got the kind of the tomb crawler things, which could be leeches, I guess. Nick is asking, one quick rules question about movement. Can you move over another model freely if you have the movement to do so, or do models block movement? Yeah, you can't move through another character's base, so a model can block movement, kind of 300 style, or for those in the UK, like the warrior on Stamford Bridge against the Vikings just before 1066. Not against the Vikings, he was a Viking, sorry, against the Saxons. Mal, I'm up for the print files. Still need to get your troll bridge, to be fair. Well, there you go. See, I do terrain. But I mean, I'll put it to the chat. You know, would you buy terrain, ArcWorlde terrain? Mr. Pisano, not much in Italy. The majority of the good buildings come from the UK. Oh, interesting. Yes. Ah. I might have to look into, well, not look into yet, but maybe do a poll on the Facebook page and see what the kind of the demand for terrain is, like what price points people will be willing to pay for them and such. Mal says, even if it was just one piece for each faction themed, would be great additions, especially to fight over. So kind of small little token kind of things. Because when you said terrain, I was sort of thinking you meant like kind of big houses and walls and stuff like that. Which I'm thinking like, well, you can kind of get those anywhere. maybe a tree shrine for the elves, or grave pieces for the raiders. Very cool. But something in your style. I mean, yeah. Nick is saying War Machine does faction-specific terrain pieces that also have stats and abilities. They're a bit expensive and big, but I wouldn't be opposed to something like that. Okay, so they're actual, more like kind of game pieces in terms of the abilities and stuff that they have, rather than just, you know, terrain that people could buy anywhere. So, I don't know, say for example, like an elf shrine or something that can buff characters around it. I don't know, because one of the big things about second edition as well is that the kind of the theatre of war, as it were, is the middle of the forest. So a lot of it is, you know, like frontier towns, you know, people are trying to settle there, or especially for the more nomadic races, they'll be having tents and stuff that's easy to pick up and move around. So maybe like kind of like caravans and stuff like that, like wagons and things. Maybe for the Imperials have like a not a war wagon as such, but more like a supply caravan that can be used as game terrain pieces, not terrain, game pieces. Mal says, sold. With not collecting elves, I would grab the shrine, etc., just to drop in the Mildark. Objective pieces would be great. Nick says he really likes the caravan idea. My second favourite model is the mounted thingfling. Oh, thank you very much. Which one is your favourite model? Jacko, ooh, could be interesting to have faction-specific markers that could be used for mission targets. And yeah, maybe instead of houses and walls, maybe an objective marker set. That's a very good point, because that way you can use your own kind of houses and walls collection. So I could specifically make kind of wood-themed campaign markers. It's your style and theme that really molds the table to more looking like ArcWorlde. Robert is saying, yeah, I have some little suggestions we can discuss on Facebook if you wanted. Yeah, absolutely. Ian, faction objectives is a really great idea. Now, I'm not sure if that was all in capitals, but that's a lot of enthusiasm from my man over there. Mel says, I've started something, sorry. Well, you know, maybe you have. That could be a stretch goal for the Kickstarter, that I sculpt kind of medium-sized objectives. Like maybe that big, that way. You know, don't take up too much resin, so it'll just be like casting like a troll or something like that. Now I'm just trying to think what to do for each faction. Seems like the community really wants it. I mean, you know, I like to listen to my community. And if they do really, really want them, then I will absolutely make them. Tea party, Rob. Imperials run on tea. Ooh, that's a cool idea. I do like that. Dagfin, or bigger artifacts, items, Imperials, Tinker artifact, Raiders, Tombs, Gallows, who's special dead person, Halflings, Sheep on Kebab, Elves, Soul Tree. And says he'd fight for a tea chest any day. Ian, tea crates for the Imperials, shrine for the Elves. I mean, for the Elves, like I do have quite a few ideas, because one of the big things about them is that they do like blood sacrifices and stuff like that. So maybe like a sacrificial altar for them, surrounded by bones and stuff, with all the kind of the cool swirls and stuff wrapped around a tree. That's that's quite a cool idea. I like that. Mr. Hardwick, these look lovely. Evening all. Thank you very much, sir. Good to have you. Nick saying, I sort of like the idea of a Hobbit hole that lets you place D3 Hobbit unit models in base to base with half their teeth, their health rounded up once per game. Maybe it's a big picnic table. It's quite a good, like a summoning thing. Rob, Alex, didn't you do something like this in the first Kickstarter? Well, I did like I did a barrow. That went with the barrow white. I'm not sure how well it actually sold. Then it settled. Tea makes the world run clearly. Les says Jacko Gov ninja'd me. Ninja'd you? Is that what the kids call it nowadays? Oh, I like the idea of a gin distillery or a swamp distillery. That's a cracking idea. Yeah, that is quite a good idea. I mean, one of the ideas also, I don't know. No. Ignore me. It'll be too big. But yeah, like I'll probably do them as stretch goals for this Kickstarter for all the factions, and if they do go down well, then I'll keep it as a feature going forwards. There are a lot of creative juices flowing in tonight's stream, Dad. You're absolutely right. In your locale, the Hooch Distiller would be ace. Creative juices flowing, get the tea brewing. Rob, fire up the moles. It's me, you've missed my disruptive influences. Absolutely. Actually, this has been the most kind of active chat we've had in quite a while, actually. I think, with everything going back to normal again, for better or worse, things have started to slow down on the stream front, but I'm quite glad. I'm quite glad that I did it today, because I wasn't going to. I was like, no, I'll do it. I'll wait until next month. Next week on the Kickstarter launch. But then, I was chatting with Wing, and we were like, no, it'll be good to kind of show you guys some of the models that we've got lined up for the Kickstarter next week, so you can get you all riled up and excited. Lord Maiden, how's about a magic well for the wizards? Interesting. I was thinking maybe because the whole thing about the wizards is that they're kind of traveling around, actively searching out magical artifacts and things to capture them and study them and stuff. So perhaps some kind of magical containment chamber would be quite cool. It's been Mr. Morris, it's been a cracking session. Really enjoyed it. Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it too. Mr. Pisano, Alex, before the end, can you show the minis once again? Absolutely. I'll do I'll do a kind of a showcase again just before we head off. We'll be heading off at 10 o'clock. So 2 hours of content, you lucky sods. Mr. Hardwick, some kind of ancient crypt for vampires. Ooh, that is a very cool idea. Nick, wizards should get the chest with legs from Discworld. Well, Nick, it's funny you should say that, because it's not focusing. But I mean, I'll show you this later. But this is the chest for the Tinkerer for the Imperials. Have I got this on autofocus? No. But this is a chest with tiny little mechanical legs, so we can get up and follow the Tinkerer around, because it's got all of his Arcanite and magical bits in there, which may or may not have been inspired by some of my reading choices over the past few years. Jacket or magic portal? Yep, absolutely. I've actually had quite a few ideas how to do a portal, so that's something I might do in the future. Mr. Morris, like wizardy Ghostbusters going around trapping magical creatures. Well, absolutely. Why do you think they'll be coming up against the vampires? Ooh. Mr. Bassano, thanks. No problem. Especially because, you know, I did a lot of the showing off of the models earlier on in the stream, so I'll definitely kind of go over the kind of do zoom like close-ups and stuff like that before we head off. I'll probably do it now actually, because we've got just over 15 minutes left. So if I do this, there we go. So here is the Tinkerer's chest with the Arcanite powered Griffling. And if you can see kind of there in the underbrush, little legs, so he's kind of sat down. Then we have the Tinkerer himself, who is the mage for the Imperials. He's found a chunk of Arcanite there, which he's quite happy about, because Arcanite is what powers all of his magical devices. Like the newfangled ArcWorlde rifles. So that's ArcWorlde Rifleman number 1. Here's ArcWorlde Rifleman number 2. And to help them reload is the Ammo Monkey. So even though ArcWorlde weaponry in 2nd edition is very, very powerful, it can only fire once per round. But if you have an Ammo Monkey nearby, he can help you reload, so you can get off a vital second shot. Here is a trooper with a spear, a bit more of an old-fashioned Go for an old-fashioned weapon, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. Then once again, here is the trooper with the shield. And then, last but not least, the captain with his own ArcWorlde pistol. And then we have the work in progress paint job, so she's not quite ready yet, on the giantess. So there's still quite a bit left to do on her. So yeah. God, let me set the focus back to normal. That's not quite right, actually. There we go, I think that's about right. So let's see what's cracking on in the chat. Mal, so objective and small medium train pieces are a go. Pool our ideas, boys and girls. Alex's hands are going to be busy. Absolutely. Kevin is saying a character kind of Van Helsing who killed the vampires. Oh, I love that movie. Lord Maid, why not for the elves have an animal burial site where they can talk to the spirits and summon them easily? Very cool idea. Jacko, Tinkerer looks great. Thank you very much. Mr. Morris, great paint job, thank you. Dagfinn, the Norseveld need an old heirloom artifact. That would be cool. Mr. Bassano, beautiful models. Have you painted the ogre yet? Not quite yet, so he's currently being cast by my dad, but I'm hoping to get a copy of the model before the launch, or at least soon after, so I can get him painted up straight away. Dagfinn as homage to the Troubles in the North storyline, absolutely. Miss Bassano, a partner to my old giant. Well, I think she might be a bit too young for him, so maybe his daughter. And I have to pick up that Troubles in the North book. Will feel like I have a hole in my collection otherwise. Absolutely. Please grab one. We've got blooming loads of them. And grab the first issue of the book if you haven't. Loads of lore. Dagfinn, the Dark Lords need a throne. Any lord worth anything needs a powerful seat. That is a very cool idea. I like that. And then like a Dark Lord kind of sat on it Conan style. Mr. Hardwick, some bestial vampires would be awesome when that comes around. Yes, well, I might already have that on the cards. And good, got one, Mal. It's full of great lore and illustrations were great. And it's hardback. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was quite lucky back then to have a contact at a really good printing company. So the quality of the books was really, really good. Hopefully, be striving for something like that once I do the Arcpedia. Jacko saying it's a really good read, mate, with some cool backstories. I'd recommend it. Mal saying, gotta ask from last week, Alex, where is your game mat from? It's one I'd really like to pick up. I can't remember. I believe I bought it at UK Games Expo last year, specifically for doing demos and stuff like that. If you message me on Facebook to remind me tomorrow, maybe I'll crack it out and and have a look at it. But yeah, it's really, really good, and obviously perfect for ArcWorlde 2nd edition with its foresty themes. And loved it. Well, thank you very much. Oh, Ian got there before me. Deep Cut Studios was the map from. Mal, perhaps a design for a Mildark mat. Now, I have looked into that already, and the costs involved of getting them manufactured are very, very, very high unless you're literally buying, huge bulks. And I'm not sure if I could design one that was unique enough from the ones that were already out there for forests and things. Alex, please stop calling me Mr. Bassano. Robbie is enough. I'm not that old. Okay, Robbie, I have learned my lesson. I will refer to you as such from now on. Yeah, Deku, yeah, because you guys are actually with me, and I remember, because we were all on the ArcWorlde stand at UK Games Expo, and I remember Ian saying to me, "I've just got these. They're really good. You should get one." They're actually very reasonably priced as well. I think it was about. So mine's a 3 foot by 3 foot one, and I think it was about 30 quid with a carry case, maybe 35. But yeah, because I do have an all singing, all dancing fold out table, and that's the one that I do my salute demos on. It's the one that I've photographed all the miniatures on for the rule book. But it can be even though I've made it as portable as physically possible, it still can be a bit of a pain, especially on public transport. So having that kind of flexible mat has been quite handy. Mal is saying some companies do a print and mat feature if you just did a Pix file design. Just a thought, but looking on the website now. Yeah, true, but I would have to obviously get it printed and then sell it and make enough of a markup on it to make it worth my while. Because one of the really difficult things about selling mats is that, because they are so big, it obviously massively increases the postage costs. So say, for example, someone buys a £5 model and a mat, that postage cost, they're probably paying more for postage than what the order's worth. But if they did like a kind of a on-demand print service where you could go over there and buy it directly from them, then, I don't know, potentially. But at least up until now, the just standard forest mats would be more than good enough. Right, folks, we have about 5 minutes left. So if you guys have any more questions for me on the chat before we head off, I will be more than happy to answer them. Mal's saying, I'm thinking more we buy the map from them and you supply the pick, perhaps via Kickstarter or Patreon as a reward. Yeah, that is quite a good idea. Why Pepsi over Coke? To be honest, I interchange. So I do have a bit of a soft drinks habit. I do drink a lot of it. It's only either Pepsi Max or Coke Zero, and I kind of alternate the weeks. Some weeks I buy Pepsi, some weeks I buy Coke, just because the tastes are slightly different. So it kind of you can get a bit tired drinking the same thing. And when I say I do buy them in bulk, the 30 can packs and stuff. Les, what's the likelihood of me needing a second mortgage come next week? Well, if Mal keeps up with these ideas, chances are it's going to be blooming likely. He says. No, but I am really, really excited for the Kickstarter next week. It's been a while, it's been a few months since the highs of the second edition Kickstarter, and I must admit I'm feeling ready for that rush again. I'll be releasing more news over the next few days. I'll be keeping you guys updated with pictures, and once you guys have had a bit of a sneak peek with the Giantess, I'm just waiting on some casts from my dad before I can get those painted up as well. But the Kickstarter will be running for 2 weeks because we're only doing one faction. It's not going to be a whole month jobby, so it'll be 2 weeks from the 21st of July to the 4th of August. So put that in your calendar, folks. The 21st of July to the 4th of August. Quick question from Nick. The Exploring the Enchanted Journal, the journal doesn't have to stay near him to cast spells, right? No, so the spells are actually cast from the journal's perspective, because it's the journal that has the magic, not the explorer, so he can run off and cast as much as he wants. Robbie's saying, I got one actually. I love that microphone on the desk, looks so cool. Where did you get it, if I may? To be honest, I can't remember. I think it might have been from Amazon maybe, or Tesco perhaps. I mean, I got it probably about 2 years ago now. It's been brilliant. Pepsi Max is miles better than Coke in my opinion. Jacko, I picked up Frozen Temple mat. It's seen plenty of troubles in the north and a beach mat, both from Deep Cut. I recommend them. Was that on the same weekend? And it's been great, guys. Thanks for the hangout. Really enjoyed. Thank you very much. Well, the next one is going to be for the Kickstarter launch stream next Tuesday. I will be posting more about that in the coming week, but it would be great to have you all here to kind of get excited about the launch. I'll be kind of showing off the campaign page a little bit before, just so you guys can kind of see it. And it'll be good to celebrate with you when it hopefully, fingers crossed, gets funded quite soon. Oscar payday is the 28th. Needs a refill after all the minis I've already bought this month. And Nick Figures, much cheers. Great stream. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy it, Nick. And see you on Tuesday. Mal, I'll be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, but it's next week, my friend. The next stream will be next week. It would be such a shame not to have you there. Lord Main, thank you very much. Take care. Right, so that's all for me tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. It's been great having the chat so active and getting lots of response from you guys. It's always nice when I can feel like I can have a conversation with you guys in the chat. As I was saying before, the Kickstarter for the Imperials, which is all these guys, is next week, the 21st of July, which is next Tuesday. If you are interested in my digital models, then you can visit my Patreon, which is www.patreon.com/Warplock Miniatures if you have a 3D printer at home. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Now on my Mini Factory and Thingiverse as well, once again for the digital stuff. But if you do have any questions, please do get in touch via Facebook or the contact form on my website. So, let's thank you very much for joining me tonight, guys. Nighty night, sleep well, and see you again this time next week. Ta-ta for now.